So we also thought about the voice.
Voice,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The
But
voice.
I have something to add.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
thing. What do you
yeah.
want to add
I
there?
believe it is very obvious that everything has a history, but we don't we we don't really talk about that enough. When we if we consider that a lot of like nowadays decisions were like consciously or subconsciously informed by our history, and I believe the chance of like meeting David or meeting Dan or meeting Zane in the podcast, actually those opportunities allowed us to rethink a little bit about what we did, and actually it is a crucial step when we try to look forward. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That
A lot of times in in such a fast paced world, we know we had such thing. We had something happened like 2 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. We do remember, and it is very convenient to remember a lot of things. Especially now we use social media, and on Facebook we got like we constantly get some reminders from the site that, oh yeah, 2 years ago you did that, 5 years ago you did that. And but it's more important to not just remember those things but also reflect on them. And I think interviewing those guests allows us to to be a little bit more reflective about our history or our craft. Yeah.
yes. And now that you're mentioning that, like music, where the word comes from is the art of the muses, and like it. I'm going into Greek mythology here and concepts and stuff like that, but the Greeks were always into something, right? And uh, yeah, the mother of the muses, um, she was the incarnation of memory. So in a way, the what we are doing with music is like there in itself is kind of like uh, an exercise on reflection, an exercise on going towards the past. Mnemosyne, like the mother of the muses was Mnemosyne, was a titan, and she was the embodiment of memory. So music is intrinsically, at least how they saw it, it intrinsically related to memory. And this podcast is kind of like it brings memories from the past and it adapt them to the future. We're always kind of reconstructing, we're always reminiscing. It's kind of like pretty much in the inside the thematic of what music represented to the ancients, for example. Just a comment over there. So it's kind of like really nice of seeing that, and we're just speaking of ourselves. But I I would say that it doesn't only apply to ourselves. It also applies to our guests when they have to speak about their own work, about what they've been doing, about what they've done, and about possibly too with the viewers that kind of like take the time to at least see a few minutes or uh, sometimes see the full episode of this podcast and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very, I point it out because it's always a very important exercise towards development. Like we cannot move forward unless we look to the past, right? And well, is a vehicle for that, definitely. um but yeah, next we had, no, or before that, how was it? Before that, a bit before that, we kind of like, after the orchestra, we kind of like went with the boys. And those
Yeah.
episodes were kind of like it. They were eye opening to me in the sense that I only have I was dealing with the boys at the time and kind of like struggling with a bit of the aspects of it, but they also kind of like opened my my world, my sound world into like being more receptive towards singers because a lot of contemporary music, you might say that it focuses on the instrumental. We don't look too much towards the voice sometimes. And the composers that look to the voice, they are sometimes look like more conservative and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Possibly speaking. At least that's my perception. What did you guys got out of those episodes? Do you remember them? Like with Amanda, Deborah, and uh, what was like Christina Bernardoni and stuff like that. Christina was very funny. She it was a good time to have her
Oh yeah.
Right.
here.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
I
I love her.
asked her about like acting on the stage, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the theatricality of it all. The voice is yeah, the voice will be the most theatrical instrument in a way because once the voice goes into the stage, it overpowers every other instrument. It's like the attention goes to the voice. So you have to be
Well, for
so
sure.
careful when dealing with the voice. And kind of like also we spoke about extended techniques and stuff like that, but in the end it's like how the voice why the voice is the first instrument, why is it that we are always gonna be using it. It also made us conscious like we sing the stuff that we compose many times and this eye and most of the time and like how the voice connects with the body, right? How the voice connects with the self. And I think that a consciousness of it came out of these episodes for sure. um and that was like it also points towards how we have been thinking about the episodes because we group them together as like we're gonna try and do a few episodes on the orchestra, we're gonna try and do a few episodes on the voice, and with each of these
I think
episodes.
that one season that we did that. I
Huh?
don't know if we've done it. I don't know if we've done it as much this season, but we did it the last season
Yeah,
completely.
but
Yeah.
and I think that it was successful in the sense that with every conversation we went deeper and deeper, and we had already thought about it some stuff in the last episode, and we carried on those concerns, let's say, into the next one, and we could go deeper and deeper into the thought process of that particular ensemble or voice, etc. We did it with the orchestra, we did it with the percussion, we did it with the boys, we did it with our opus one. Like we kind of like select a thematic axis or so, and we go along with it for a few episodes and we think about it, and it allows us to kind of have a, we might say,
Yeah.
a leitmotiv for a few episodes, right?
Well, we have like a we do have like a running list of people that we think would are people would make good guests, people that we have some kind of connection to that we think would be very easy for us to uh, come on the show. And then as these topics come up, sometimes we're like, oh, we're doing this topic. Oh, well, this guest will be perfect for it. Then it's like we some of these people we want on the podcast, but we're like, when do they go on the podcast? It's not always as clear. So like we have these topics that come up, and sometimes one episode will kind of feed into the next. Like the conversation will steer a certain way and give us an idea for another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Yeah, I could see, perhaps, especially as we go through more and more guests, um, perhaps there'll be topics up that there'll be, people that maybe we don't necessarily have a direct uh, relationship with, but maybe we kind of know somebody who knows somebody, um,
Mm-hmm.
and they're an expert on whatever topic our podcast is on. But I mean, we have quite a large library of people that we know. Um, yeah, and to choose from, and a lot of times, we have a short list of people, and then a lot of times there's people a topic that come up, and we think of another person that we didn't even think before. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Also connecting different continents. Like for example, we've talked with people from America, but we also talked with people from Europe and
yeah,
see how
and
things
that
work
that's
out over
been something
there.
we've done a little bit more this year because it's a little bit more logistically challenging when you're
Yeah,
dealing with people on that drastically of a different time zone. Um, but there was
we've been able to
a
do
few
it
years
up until
before we do
now.
it, yeah.
So
We
that's kind
just talked with Diana from France. I mean, who was in France, and
of.
um,
Mhm.
that was great too. Like, she was a different episode because than some of the other reunion ones because Diana was a little bit of she was a little bit she was ahead of us in her studies, and
Yeah.
so like we didn't have as many close I didn't have as many close interactions with her. She was more somebody I think we only overlapped 1 year on campus,
Yes.
maybe
You
two. I
got,
think only
you
one.
got,
And I
yeah.
remember my first year, she was, definitely a composer I admired and looked up to. So it was a different. She was more of a mentor, and than anything, than she felt more like a mentor than a colleague when I was there. Um, yeah, and it
It
was
was
well, it was
and
good to
another
her
thing,
too.
like she had her language very developed, and her
Mhm.
aesthetical ideas were very developed too. What she wanted to do with her music is like, and we were like, it's not that we didn't have any direction, but we weren't quiet there definitely.
We were
Um,
like first year grad students.
yeah, come yeah.
And I did a master's doctoral combination, so I came straight from undergrad. I was like 22 when I started. I mean, I was young.
You were younger than I, but I also came from undergrad. I was like 25. I was 25 when I entered. Like just yeah, like on that month that we began, I think it was August, right? Or was it September?
Yeah, I think August. Yeah,
August. Well, that month
yeah.
I turned 25, and then
And I think I turned 23 the first October. So a couple months in, I turned
it's kind of
23.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
I was young. I mean, I was yeah.
our youthful selves, so idealistic, with so many hopes and dreams and stuff like that. You might say, but the one that knew her, that the one that knew Diana was Shanting. How was it for you?
I I I still think sorry, my voice. I still think
That's how
he's
it was for you.
sorry for my throat. Uh,
You don't
I
have.
I always think her music is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I remember when I first listened to her music, I find it very like striking because as I mentioned, I was not very ambitious, and I back then I didn't try to use like let's say like extended technique. I was very like skeptical about the use of extended techniques, but I I got I got to know her music when I were when I was in like UB, and I find out, wow, this is very powerful. Yeah, I believe I play the piano part for her percussion and piano quartet when
Mm.
I first arrived at UB, and yeah, I learned a lot from the music she presented at school. Yeah,
I
and
think yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But you were gonna say something else?
I would say, yeah, Diana was also one of the composers I came across at UB, made me like, I have to be a more open minded, more like adventurous composer. Yeah.
I would say that when I saw her first score over there at UB at University of Buffalo, I was very impressed. It kind of like uh made me wanna be a better composer, made me wanna level up my composition game. Let's put it that way. And also, I think that she has an effect on people. And for example, what she said about not marrying an aesthetic, although I thought like that when she put it like right at bluntly, she wasn't an aesthetical composer in the sense that she didn't want to marry a specific aesthetic school. I think that that was very honest, and but also kind of like very eye-opening. Kind of like, yeah, it's like every piece, it's the way I thought about it. Every piece has its own individuality, has its own personality. So let it develop in the way it wants to be developed, not and not try to impose upon it a rigidity on aesthetics, for example. Some pieces demand to be more conservative, for example, for like, and you have to let them go that route. So she's been a teacher to us too in a certain way. We can say that. Um, I think that the conversations with the composers, like also with John Rivera Pico, was also a very deep one. Like we talk about music. It even though John wasn't at the seminar, it felt like one of those conversation at the seminar where we went along and kind of like talked about these different topics and went deep into those topics. So the composers that we've had, I think that with Nomi, I've seen the same. I think that yeah, it's kind of like they make you think about yourself and about yourself as an artist and about how other people think about this art and why do we do it, right? Why what drives people into doing it and go along with it?
Mm-hmm.
I will say
Yeah,
that uh-huh. I will
that's
say
been like the best part of the podcast. I think that about my experience doing it is getting those conversations and making those connections or reconnections with all these people and having these types of conversations is definitely while I hope like others might enjoy the podcast or get something out of it, I definitely definitely is very like self fulfilling for sure.
and yeah, it doesn't have to be for it doesn't have to be very deep, like very serious, not deep, like serious conversation, etc., etc. Like the episode with Catherine Barnes, I learned a
Oh yeah.
lot from her, and she was very a lot of fun, and she was making
Mm-hmm.
jokes and talking about her life,
Definitely.
like not taking herself seriously, consciously, in a conscious manner. And I love that, and I got something out of it. It's like, yeah, sometimes you have to lighten yourself up and stuff like that. And it's not that I'm a stuck up, that I'm very rigid, but you have to remind yourself about it every now and then. It's like we're not doing this because we're kind of like this in this cult or for religious reasons necessarily or all the time or whatever. It's kind of like sometimes we're doing this for fun, and we have to remember that, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of like it doesn't make it more trivial or any more trivial. It kind of like just deepens the layer of what we are doing, and having guests kind of reminds us, and we I think that every guest, even and not and the times that we converse, like now, it's like we're reflecting, we're kind of making conscious the unconscious, like we've probably thought about it, but we haven't organized these thoughts this way. And I think that like every guest, what I was gonna say is a teacher in their own way, for sure. I will say that, like Marimbis, Adilia Jeep was another
Oh
good
yeah.
example. I really enjoyed that one. You've worked with her before, right, Shanting?
Right. Yeah. I
And
wrote like a bass clarinet and marimba duo. Yeah, like a few years ago. Yeah.
mhm.
She had like a lot of experiences like besides like performances. She also like she also like does research on like African music, African drumming, something like that. And she's working for like a museum. Uh, yeah, and I think that episode was mostly about like her trips and researches, right?
I
Yeah,
think our
wait,
theme that we were on, because it was right with Catherine Barnes, um, was we were interested in kind of more the ethno music route.
but at the same
Yeah,
time, like we learn a bit about curating concerts because she kind of dedicates to that. She works on that, on curating for museums, for places to play music and stuff like that. Also, it's kind of like we got a sense of the European scene and how they do things over there, and how the contrast of Europe and North America, and stuff like that. It's kind of like it's eye opening. Like mm, sometimes
Mhm.
I will say that if sometimes we go to Europe, we've been to Europe to present our music and stuff like that, but we don't really get the sense of how things are done over there, how they think about music, how they organize composers and stuff. I think that we have gotten out more out of these conversations of how of the modus operandi of the MO that they use over there and
Mhm.
stuff. I will say, definitely speaking. Um, yeah, yeah. Also, another thing that I wanted to point out where it was the Shontin. You've named a lot of the episodes. You come up with the titles for a lot of the episodes, like white, black, white, white, black. She can tight over here was the other one. I'm looking for that one. She can type right, she can type left. Was it left, right, whatever? You come up with very creative, inventive, innovative titles.
Mhm.
again because I'm an optimist. I
She
don't.
can type which side, left or right. That was
I'm not that afraid of like pitching some silly ideas.
no, I know, I've known that, but it's kind of like this gives us the ability to take it a bit further. Even it's kind of like even with the titles, it's kind of like a title is a title has weight. A title has a lot of weight in our compositions and in these episodes and stuff like that. It's kind of like definitely.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure. I always tell my, I have all my high school's, composition students. Most of them don't want to title their pieces, and then they'll be like string quartet, and string quartet's a title too. It's not original, and it's not generic, and your piece is now in the same category as millions of other pieces, some quite famous and quite good, that
mm-hmm.
are called string quartet, or whatever it is. That you can't really get away with the no title thing.
The thing about calling your piece in that sense, in a very generic way, is that okay, you're already gonna get compared with other pieces that have the same instrumentation as a string quartet because the string quartet is so established. If you call it string quartet, it's gonna lend itself more towards that comparison with other ones, right?
For
It's kind of
sure.
like there are
Well, and
always
it's really
ideas.
the only chance you have to tell the audience something small about the piece. I mean, there's the program notes, but
But
most of the time people
most,
don't read those.
yeah, yeah, and it's kind of like
But people do read the titles.
So
yes.
just think about that when you go to Barnes and Nobles, when you just like when you are just browsing around, you and then you are told to pick up at least one book, and you don't really have chance to read a lot before, right? And then you can only pick up a book based on the title. I think a good title actually sets the tone. I'm talking about like music composition, right? If you always name a piece, like let's say if you have to write an orchestral work and then you name it
The
let's say
piece.
symphony number one, and then even if you don't know whether you are going to write your number two, but you just name it like symphony number one,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know how a lay person may think about that, but for me, I would think that, oh, perhaps you are going to follow the so-called like sonata form in some way, right? I feel like that it will be like this, and I will feel like that maybe you don't really have a lot extra musical idea. You are going to write some kind of like so-called absolute music, maybe I don't know, and 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 a title may a good title may give us or give audience a very good idea of how the piece may sound or how the piece may be about, right?
Mhm.
If you like I mean when you I don't know how you perceive the title like Firebird in when you were a kid, but I would feel like, oh, it sounds like a great fairy tale when you hear that. Let's say like Peter and the Wolf. You immediately feel like happier, right? But it is not so happy when you hear things like, oh, classical symphony. Sorry, Prokofiev. So yeah, yeah. So I believe titles are crucial for for our pieces, especially our music is usually considered less accessible. So the title may suggest something to the audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
remember when I was presenting something, a trio in, where was it? I think it was somewhere, a little town in France, whatever. But yeah, people kind of like, after they listened to it with the title, they were asking more about the title in a way, like how the title related to the music. And they were kind of genuinely curious, like these performers that probably didn't have that much experience with new music and stuff like that. So a title is a gateway towards opening up your music so that other people understand it better, and get curious about it. I think that we cannot underestimate that. No, we cannot take it for granted at all.
Yeah.
Given that music can be very abstract, with I
Yes.
mean the music can still sound pretty good even if the title can be pretty generic. However, I yeah, a good title may help. Yeah,
Yeah.
may help the audience understand it. Yeah.
For our podcast, the title is often the last thing because when we do an episode, we usually have like a meeting where we just plan. We um, think like, what's the topic going to be? Do we want a guest? If we have a guest, sometimes we give them like questions to start just thinking about, so they don't feel like we're bombarding them or anything like that. But then the actual podcast is just a kind of free flow conversation. And when
Conversation.
you have a free flow conversation, you're not exactly sure which direction it's going to go. So oftentimes the title, I would say Shunting does name, I would say the majority of them, but a lot of times it comes after recording and it's sort of like a reflection to the experience of like wherever the conversation goes. What is the, you know,
Yeah. For,
sometimes we have a title, especially if it's a guest. Like sometimes the title with the guest ones are just their names or whatever that we might have
yeah.
beforehand.
The interview with Diana. Diana So Composer, for example. But what we talked with about Diana was it, we planned on talking about her music, and the conversation went in a totally different direction. It's like
Mhm.
we talked about a lot of topics. The one that stood out the most to me was curating, right?
Yeah, me too, actually.
You're right.
It's,
But
and that was like a class for us in a way, I would say, like because we I don't think that we thought that much about it. I don't think that we don't have that much experience with it, but then yeah, it's a topic that's come up over and over, and then with Diana, she if she doesn't curate, like she probably wouldn't be as active as she is, or she wouldn't have a so successful, so to speak, concerts, recitals. She controls the narrative. She controls the whole experience, so to speak, and that's something that okay that I don't think that we have thought enough of. I hope that we begin to think more about it and stuff, but yeah, she that conversation really went places. Let's just say the
I
same
for
with me.
sure.
I will say that the same was with somebody like Felder, because we well yeah we spoke about his music and his project, but at the same time, like I don't think that that was the center of the of that conversation. I think that we spoke
No.
about many other stuff, and like uh we reflected a lot, and it was nice like to have him be so honest, like for starters. um he was very honest, but like kind of the sense that we were on the same level. Of course we're not on the same level, come on, but we I got that sense and that camaraderie, so to speak. So
He
that
didn't talk down to us. He did at all. Like he was,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It was like that. Yeah, that was the feeling. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And this space also, okay, we plan
But
ahead, and
I,
like
I
uh-huh.
will say that the other thing that the podcast does give us, like even the times like we didn't get into Diana's So's music nearly as much as I like that. We probably could have, and because her music is great, like people should listen to it. Her music is great. But I, really value the conversations we did have. But like the fact that we were doing it process, we're doing a podcast with her, like it did give me an excuse to re-listen to her music and listen to music that was more recent. And that's been like an enjoyable process for me too. Is like um, feeling like I have an excuse to listen to all these guests' work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And where are they now? Like I had not heard her music for a while now. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really cool to see where where life took her musically speaking. The same with Felder in a way, because I had not listened to his music for a while. So in the preparation process, it's like what were his last work? What was he thinking about, right? And I
Yeah.
got to get closer to like his last works, and well, let's see if they are his last works or not. But that's what he said. Like he wasn't going. He felt like that quote like stayed with me. Like what he
Well, and
said
it
that
was
he said all that he had to say already, musically speaking.
yeah,
Very honest. So he didn't feel like he had to say anything more.
and
So
it
he
was
was.
interesting. It was interesting hearing him talk with about his like Quattro de Cardinal or um, that piece because that was a piece that was premiered while we were students there. Um, and
Yes,
he
I think that's
didn't,
one of the last
you
ones,
know,
right?
I was at the premiere and whatever, but I didn't understand the backstory or how important that piece was to him because to me as an audience member then it was just Felder was getting another premiere of something, it was, and for him it probably was, it obviously was a lot more special than that.
Yes.
I remember really enjoying the piece and all that, but yeah, he had performances very frequently at Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the podcast it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing artistically speaking and as an individual. And I think that it was a good idea. And it's been a good idea to have continued with it. And like for the future, I hope that we keep learning and we keep having interesting guests and keep developing new ideas and stuff like that. um
Oh, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, there's still so many people that we've talked about as great guests. And some of them we've reached out to, and we're trying to, just kind of work out all the scheduling challenges. And others, we, haven't we still there others we still need to reach out to at some point when we, have openings for particular people. But yeah, there's still a lot of people on our list that I would be very, very excited to have on our podcast. Um, yeah,
It's
and
uh-huh.
and maybe it's too early to tell more, but we do have some ideas for like new episodes or even new formats for our upcoming. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Course,
yeah. So
Um,
we're creatives. We need the innovative stimuli to keep it going. That's what's kept this going in a way. We keep doing the same thing over and over. It kind of gets so fast for every one of us in various aspects, like with music and stuff like that.
and
Uh,
hope
yeah,
and hopefully we will have also some new music by ourselves, and we can talk about that too. Yeah.
yeah, we cannot
yeah,
we cannot get that out of sight. we must always try for keep our keep that part of ourselves alive, because if not, it gets ugly. Let's just put it that way. At least for me, it kind of gets ugly. But there's yeah, we'll keep doing this as long as we can, and it's been a good ride, and it's been already 2 years, and a lot of learning, a lot of introspection, a lot of retrospection, a lot of memories, a lot of reconsideration of old ideas, like where do they stand today, how one changes, how one changes perspective. I think that
Mhm.
we've gotten a lot out of this, and I hope that people that watch or watch this in the future can at least we can at least transmit something, communicate something of what we're doing here, of what we're feeling here, of the process that we are going through, like through years now, through decades now.
Mhm.
I hope that yeah, other people can get it. If not all the same, we're getting a lot out of it. At least I'm getting a
Oh
lot
yeah.
out of this, and I think that you guys are too. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful for you guys. Definitely, because we're I've been having a blast, and if I haven't done this in the past, within the last few years, who knows? Who knows? We've seen in how many people get away from composition, get away from the music life,
Yeah.
kind of abandon it, and kind of like they it's like they lose some part of themselves when they forget about it. It's kind of like
Oh
uh,
yeah. I
well,
mean,
that's life. I don't want to say that is sad or that is good or anything, but it's
yeah.
something that I don't want to lose, personally
I mean,
speaking.
this podcast has really been a bright spot for me these past over 2 years now, for sure. Yeah, and I think I have shared a lot of the same sentiments for the future as Juan, like in terms of wanting just to keep doing this, keep having more guests, keep creating. Yeah, I think also like especially as I look back at the guests, I mean, I think we have quite a long list of people we would like on that we haven't had time for. But I'm looking back at some of the episodes we have, and I'm like, oh wow, like it would be great. Some of these people would be I would love to do another episode with because there was
Or,
so much more that we could talk to that we didn't get a chance. Um, so kind of both spaces. I'm like, oh well, there's so many more people I'd like to have, but I'm like, oh, these people would I'd love to have again too.
yeah, because they talk to us about their projects. So let's see where they took those projects. For example, Queens was one, and Nomi Epstein was another. Diana So is full of projects now. Like
Mhm.
a lot of people. There's good musicians do performing good music out there. Like Kyle was also, is he's full of projects. It's like Andrew also was he's doing a master's now and a second master's degree and dealing with different music. So he's thinking. We are all thinkers of music.
Mhm.
On top of being creators of music one way or another, right? Being an interpreter, performer, composer, etc., etc. And you might mature as a composer or a musician through time. And of course, you want to see how those people, how those guests have matured in the time frame that has passed.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, I think that we've rambled on long enough for tonight for the day. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
I
Anything?
think
um
we kind of made ours. I think Chun Ting hasn't really. Yeah.
I I just want to add one more thing. Yeah. Thank you for all the listeners to our podcast. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. See, I mean, although listeners are not invited as guests, but we do. I mean, we are like motivated to create so many episodes, not only for ourselves, but also for listeners. And no matter how many views for our episodes, I we do think about whether listeners can benefit from our episode or whether listeners may enjoy our episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Some
we also think about like us, especially like when we were going through school, like what kinds of topics would we have wanted to been able to know more about.
Yep. So
And
and so thanks for checking out our our podcast. Yeah.
yeah, thanks to anybody that is willing to listen to us, because it's like composing, right? Even though you are kind of doing it for yourself, to get something out of yourself, to express yourself, to create something. Well, there's you want it to go out there, you want it to share it with people, to show it to people, to have a communal experience with it. So the same applies to this podcast for certain. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think that we can leave it there and leave on this note. It's a high
yeah,
note. Like, thanks to everyone and to you guys and to the guests and everyone that's willing to be part of this conversation and community. Because
Right.
that's
yeah,
what keeps things alive.
yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks, and that will be it, it seems. Take care. Bye.
Bye.